Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm going to have a little shorty. We'll take a look at Marian, Heretic today. It's one of those Boom Studios ones that I kind of almost took a pass on. There's a couple of customers who expressed some interest, so I was going to order it for them, and then I got to read like a little bit of the preview thing in another Boom Studios book I was reading, and it really did stand out to me. And I've got to say, a lot of the reasoning behind that is the visuals of it all. The artwork is spectacular. Gonna absolutely call out by name Joe Jarrow here. I hope that's how you pronounce that surname. There's an awful lot he does absolutely brilliantly. He managed to do fantastic dynamic artwork in ways that are beautifully rendered. There is genuine peril and threat. The violence is kind of bloody and over the top, but still managed to look fantastic and very much in keeping with what's going on. He also does fantastic character design, although... And this is it's a minor thing, and it probably is only a me thing in terms of, like, if it even bothered me. I can't say it did too much, but it's still there. There's still the thought in my head was, if you're going to do a story very femme-led with the idea of patriarchy in religious organisations being a bit of an issue, I don't know, just felt like there's just a lot of boobs. And I don't mind. Like, it didn't stop me enjoying it, but I was aware that they were there, and it felt a bit weird. Not in a terrible way, didn't stop me enjoying it, thoroughly good book. And so much of the character design is fantastic. I mean, there is like this difference between the witches as being crones or quite good-looking sexualized femme figures, which again is an interesting thing to do, and I like what that can tell us about the way that the male gaze looks at this kind of thing, and how we typically look at kind of femme magic users. We do seem to go to, the sorceress, the enchantress, which generally would be considered to be good-looking women, down to crones. There really isn't too much in the middle ground for that one, so again, kind of makes sense, and I do think every character design was fantastic. Not just them, but also the religious figures and everyone else in the world. Everything looked brilliant about it. But it's the colouring that's really stood out for me. Walter Bayamonte, I think I may have pronounced that surname, do apologise if I did. His colouring is brilliant. It does that thing I've said a couple of times recently. I love it when an artist can take a still image on a page and make it glow. There's something about the way that the light works off other things. There's reflection and shadow going into play in ways which are just beyond me to explain, and certainly beyond me to do. There's also a really good understanding of how to use palettes quite effectively. We get an awful lot of red, even in places where I wouldn't necessarily say that would be the naturally occurring colour you'd see, but it's all used for story-related reasons, and it does add to atmosphere and intensity really, really effectively. Writing though is Teenie Howard, and she is great. Like, I just really like everything I've read from her. This one in particular does stand out, because I went into it with a slightly nervous feel. I always get apprehensive when witches are used in a fantastical idea or story concept where they actually did exist and had magical powers. Because the entire point of witches in most fiction, or at least in mythology and cultural storytelling, is that, they weren't actually real. It was just an excuse the patriarchy had for attacking a whole bunch of women, and could use the hierarchical systems and religious organisations to justify it and to spread the word that this is a bad thing and they should be totally allowed to kill witches. It's kind of a little bit messed up that people then be like, oh yeah, but what if they really did have powers? Because it plays into that idea of like, well, it's almost fantastic, not racism in this case, misogyny, but it's like, well, they weren't really there, so they can be used as a stand-in for how real people were treated, but witches were a reason why real women were treated that way. Thankfully, Teenie does a really nice thing in only a handful of bits of dialogue, pitched to perfection, which basically involves our titular character, Marian, going off on the orders of the church to go and kill all the witches she could find, and I'm not going to get it verbatim, but effectively the head of one of the covens just is like, well, since when were witches a problem for you until you came for us? And I like it because it frames anything that this organisation, loose or as it may be, or even unorganised as it may be, this group of individuals, will only do things to reciprocate against things that are done to them. Yes, in this world they have powers and they can do things, but at no point is anyone inconvenienced by them until they are told that they're dangerous and send warriors to go and deal with them. Then it becomes responding to it. And we see that played out in contemporary real-world situations as well. And I think Howard's use of language in this one is brilliant. It sets up everything perfectly for who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. Very, very simply done, but leaving some wiggle room, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. Fantastic issue 1, everything I wanted from it. That's it for me today, though. Until I see you all again, look after you, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!